Okay, well, this is Paul, and this is the assignment 3.2. Couple responses here. First of all, Rosie, you said, how would you interpret Verbis's warning, rule your feelings less your feelings rule you? Well, as they talk about in chapter 6, relative to emotions and learning, the issue is that emotions can either facilitate or debilitate our educational assimilation process. There are the triggers that they speak to repeatedly, things like danger, things like stress, items such as just fear or anxieties, in a sense, knocked down. They basically take us from the highest level of learning, the highest level of cognitive thought that we and the top mammals have, down to a more basal, median form of cognitive thought, one that's based on a black, gray, brown format. So what that means is that it compromises our ability to learn, and that's just one example of a negative emotion holding us back. In a positive way, they also speak to how there's a certain euphoric sense, and as long as it doesn't go on for too long, because you almost enter a trance state. If you stay euphoric for too long, but for a short amount of time, it can energize you. They also talk about keeping your emotions in balance by doing physical exercise or items like this to help break up the monotony. What it boils down to is that emotions are really, surprisingly to most people, more powerful than thought. We tend to think that the mental situation rules, but it doesn't. The voice in our head doesn't stand a chance to our beating heart. And so, otherwise it wouldn't be crimes of passion. Otherwise the brain or the person wouldn't be let off the hook half the time or given psychiatric care for a crime of temporary insanity. The emotions far outweigh our mental capacity in force and power and their ability to control us. So we must control our emotions or they will control us because they are more powerful. Left unabated, like a runaway train, thoughts don't have a chance. So that's the answer to that one. It's the monster under the bed, emotions, if they're not handled properly. Let's see, what else do we have here? We have Jason, I think it is, and he was saying, my question is, how can we effectively use a technique to enhance the learning process, i.e., the practice of hooks, the practice of triggers emotions such as fear, laughter, happiness, or nostalgia. Jason's concerned about fluff. He's concerned about too much information. He's a serious guy, Jason. He's a member of our team, our wiki team I'm in. He's very task-oriented. So he's concerned about why these hooks and emotional exciters wouldn't just be extraneous. Well, it boils down to a couple things. First of all, Jason, you're probably not assimilating as much data as you might think after a while, going with just the facts man, Joe Friday kind of approach. What happens is that no matter how focused you are, no matter how much ginkgo you ate that day, you're still going to start to lose focus. If there's a modulation of energy, your emotion, you don't want to get too far down or depressed or anxiety ridden, because then you can't really function, because again you're in that median cognitive form as opposed to our highest level of thinking. And you don't want to be too giddy, because if you're celebrating, like you're a Yankees fan and you just won the World Series this week, then you reach a certain sense where you're kind of unreachable. You're in like this trance state. But in between those two extremes, we can learn in all those modalities, and what they were saying in Chapter 7 is we need to break that up, and we need to, in different forms of these emotions, we can grasp different things. It's also important for us to learn in different ways. Sometimes, since there's so many different learners in the group, some people are going to need to have it discussed, some people are going to need to have it read, other people are going to need to read the process themselves, other people are going to need to just jump in right away and not do a bunch of thinking ahead of time and interact. So not only just for you, but for all the other students in the classroom, we'll need to go through these different modalities of learning, which go through all the different sort of emotional, the gambit. If you're doing a raise your hands, or let's do a field exercise, or let's go outside and do something, these create a whole different set of emotions than just sitting there watching a presentation. So it's important for us to have a hook. It's important for us to have different emotions so we can assimilate the information in different ways, and so the other students in the group can also have a fair chance of assimilating it if they have different learning patterns than us. So those are my answers, Jason and Rosie, and I hope they're useful. Thank you.